Hey y'all, how y'all doing out there today? Well, I hope wonderful. First, I'd like to say thank you to all my supporters, okay? Even those who just peep in, just to see what's going on but have not subscribed, thanks for stopping by as well, okay? I've had some individuals in the comments to question the obstacles, then other than the focus of my exposure to Jasmine Crockett, okay, video, the first video I done. Now some of these comments makes me think they were at the Capitol on that fateful day, okay? Some lets me know that we still have a long road ahead of us dealing with change, okay? Yeah, yeah, okay, anyway. And for those that's in the comments who keep a tenacious grip on their comments, big ups. Thank you. I enjoy reading your comments. Now let me get to it. I have included some clips of immigration, border issues, the military, and Biden giving resources. There was questions about these issues in the comments. So I have provided some proof for you to see Jasmine's focus on them areas that you commented on, okay? How many really knows what the word complicated means? Well, it means to analyze, understand, and to explain, okay? Now, that's the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. The Webster-Merriam's dictionary definition, okay? In a clip here, you will get a better understanding of what complicated explicits. And for the commenter who would like to see the rebuttal to Jasmine's scorning, allegedly, there isn't any, okay? I have yet to have seen one so far. If you find it, you can email it to me. And if there's any other stories that you guys out there would like for me to speak on, email it to me. I'll be glad to, okay? And let me say this. I'm not sipping today. It's kind of early. I was a resident of Irving, Texas some years ago. And I believe Texas got them one here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. Like I said, I was a resident in Texas, okay? Hey, they got them. Hey, like I said, a shark, okay? I'm not backing down from that. They let a shark in the tank, okay? And it's just what it is, all right? Now, you guys know I have my 3 questions, but I got an extra one for you guys today. Number 1, did that give you some insight on Jasmine's focus on those issues? Number 2, what do y'all think about the Congresswoman wanting to expose nude pics to prosecute Hunter Biden? Think about that if you was in that position. Number 3, do you think the government will shut down? And number 4, what do y'all think about the military spending all of this money on Viagra when they have the biggest spending budget? And let me say this. If she ran for president, I'd definitely vote for her. Oh, yeah. I definitely would. That's my take on what's in the media today. The videos, the clips are coming up next. Stay with me. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure you turn on your bells so you can be notified every time I upload a video. Okay? And remember, don't allow anyone to steal your joy. Okay? Even though I am wearing this here shirt, I match energy. So how we gonna act today? It's one of them days. Sometimes I get up with that, okay? But I'm still not gonna allow anyone to steal my joy, even though I match their energy. When I walk off or leave, my joy coming with me, okay? Remember that, guys. Have a blessed day.
Have you ever heard them say "if" since we've been sitting here for I don't know how long?
Yes, I've been taking a tally.
Oh, okay. Can you show us? Can you tell us what the tally is?
More than 35 times, the Republican witnesses and Republican members of the committee have used the word "if."
Thank you so much for that. Because honestly, if they would continue to say "if" or "Hunter" and we were playing a drinking game, I would be drunk by now. Because I promise you, they have not talked about the subject of this, which would be the president. But let me tell you something that was so disturbing as I walked in to this chamber today. As I prepared, I said, what is the crime? Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the shitter to me. This looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts related to efforts to obstruct the vote certification proceedings, 1 count of conspiracy to violate civil rights, 23 counts related to forgery or false document statements, 8 counts related to soliciting, and I could go on because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will yield. So if we're going to talk about China, let's go ahead and talk about China. And let's talk about the dealings. And let me point out the fact that right now, each of you has admitted that none of you are fact witnesses. We walked in without facts. And unfortunately, because what we say isn't necessarily evidence, we have wasted the American people's time, and we are going to walk out of this chamber and we still have no facts that are leading to anything. But let me give y'all a little bit of tea while we're here. So I have a document that I will ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record. It's a fact sheet on President Trump's shady business dealings with the Chinese government.
What are you entering in? A record from who?
This is from the Congressional Integrity.
Congressional Integrity Project, the dark money pack? I object. I object to that too.
Of course y'all gonna object, but we gonna talk about it. So, it says Trump has extensive financial ties to the Chinese government. President Trump collected millions from Chinese government-owned entities while in office. I have the best tenants in the world, President Trump was well aware of the multi-million-dollar lease to Chinese interests. President Trump promised to donate foreign government profits while in office, but he donated less than a third of his proceeds from the Chinese government. President Trump maintained 3 foreign bank accounts while in office, including 1 in China. President Trump's business with China raised legal and ethical concerns. President Xi loves the people of China. He loves his country, and he's doing a very good job. Let me tell you something. I don't want to talk about what y'all want to act like is some big mystery, because we keep sitting here The fact is, these people died at our border in Texas on Friday. We are here today having a hearing, and the pro-life party does not want to talk about the fact that there was basically state-issued or sanctioned death at the Texas border. There can be nothing more inhumane than the fact that we have not even decided that we were going to discuss this on the pro-life side. But you know what? I do want to talk about some other facts that we have. Republicans can't do the basic job that we are supposed to do. You see, in 2 days, we are scheduled to shut down. They can't figure out how to do a budget because we're 6 months behind, but somehow they are going to solve this complex issue of immigration. I seriously doubt it. And to quote a great known as Riri, also known as Rihanna, how about we give a round of applause, a standing ovation, because we have absolutely had nothing more than performative politics. In fact, my Texas colleague just finished his comments by specifically talking about the election in November and who's going to win it. We are not here to campaign. We are supposed to be here to legislate, but we have done everything except for legislate. So let's go through a few more facts. Democrats have introduced legitimate, sensible legislation to address what we're seeing. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to grandstand for political purposes rather than work with Democrats and fix an immigration system that has been broken for decades. Republicans continue to vilify people, including mothers and their children. And as I just said, we just lost a mother and her children. We also know that the gentle lady from Florida, who happens to be the only member to give birth this session, specifically admitted that she actually wants a child separation policy. I can't think of something more ironic than that particular member specifically advocating for child separation policies. Republicans are yelling that states don't have the tools to help with migrants, but rather than work with Democrats, Republicans are targeting communities of color in Democratic cities like Chicago, New York, and Philadelphia. And while they say that it's about Democrat-run cities, I do want to point out another similarity that they have. These are cities that are run by African Americans. So while I know that they love to pretend as if there are no racial undertones, it is just striking to me that we specifically are going after African American run cities. And we talk about the mayor of New York. I don't know when I've ever seen so much bipartisanship and agreement out of the Republicans, but they continue to talk about what the mayor of New York has said. Let me tell you about somebody else who wanted to speak out about New York, and I want to make sure that she understands that the Democrats aren't the problem, but the Republicans are, and that's Cardi B. Cardi B specifically talked about her frustration because the mayor came out and said that they don't have the resources that they need. But guess who has actually tried to give the resources to these cities and who has stood in obstruction? President Biden. To be clear, President Biden has tried to give state and local governments and nonprofits federal resources to support temporary food, shelter, and other services, but MAGA House Republicans are refusing to give those cities and states those resources. President Biden has tried to put 1,300 more Border Patrol agents at the border to help, but Republicans have obstructed that request. Republicans want to cut the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. President Biden has tried to give our border agents 100 new cutting-edge inspection devices and add 1,000 additional law enforcement personnel. Republicans obstructed that request. Honestly, I can't tell if y'all are for anything other than obstruction and cruelty. Just take a look at my governor last week. He said, and I quote, "The only thing we're not doing is we're not shooting people who come across the border because, of course, the Biden administration would charge us with murder." I know Governor Abbott doesn't understand the law, but let me say this, that absolutely would be murder. And with that, I'll yield.
3 hours and 45 or so minutes into this, the Republicans' own witnesses have confirmed that they have seen no evidence of any evidence. I think that if my Republican colleagues had a so-called smoking gun, they would have presented it by now and would have talked about it non-stop.
Can the gentlelady read a bank statement, an email, a text message?
Are you asking her to yield,
reclaiming
Mr.
my
Chairman?
time? Thank you. Reclaiming my time. Instead, we're sitting here with no fact witnesses and no evidence in this sham so-called impeachment to distract from their inability to fulfill their basic duty to fund and run our government. Republicans know the American people don't want their shutdown. So instead, the Republicans on this committee are attempting to divert and distract the American people's attention by spending taxpayer dollars on this sham impeachment hearing 2 days before they shut the government down in hopes that the media, and I don't just mean Fox News, will fall for their scheme and give more airtime to the lies being told on this committee today than the real life impact their shutdown will have on even their own constituents' lives. In fact, in Chairman Comer's district, Republicans' shutdown will cost 8,937 of his constituents their paychecks. In Jim Jordan's district, Republicans' shutdown will cost 3,939 of his constituents their paychecks. In Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, Republicans' shutdown will cost 6,306 of her constituents their paychecks. In Lauren Boebert's district, Republicans shut down.
Democrats are the party of shutdowns. You guys love shutdowns.
Thank you very much. In Lauren Boebert's district, Republicans shutdown will cost 9,016 of her constituents their paycheck. When you add it all up, Republicans shutdown will cost 217,583 of their constituents on this committee's paychecks, their income for who knows how long. Let that sink in for a second. Those are our mothers, our fathers, caretakers, brothers, sisters, moms, dad, grandmas, grandpas, friends, neighbors, beloved community members, veterans who won't know how their food or medicine will be paid for or where their rent money is coming from. Many of them vote Republican, but I bet you not one of them cares more about Hunter Biden's laptop or helping Kevin McCarthy keep his gig as leader or speaker of his dysfunctional caucus than they care about receiving their paycheck and making their ends meet. And so the Republicans on this committee are betting that we'll spend this hearing engaging in partisan bickering over their favorite buzzwords rather than talking about how the MAGA shutdown will crush all of our constituents. I care about the 7 million babies, children, mothers across this country who after Sunday will lose access to food and formula, over 10,000 in my district alone. I care about 300,000 families of 20,000 veterans who after Sunday could face eviction from their homes. Rare diseases and cancer patients whose experimental trials will be delayed for months. And I care about our seniors unable to get help with Social Security and Medicare. And make no mistake, their attacks are targeted, both in who's behind them and who are going to be hurt most. The most marginalized folks bear the brunt of these MAGA Republicans' attacks. Black folks, brown folks, trans folks, poor folks, disabled folks. Keeping that struggle in mind, we've had 2 hearings on the infant formula shortage on the subcommittee chaired by Congresswoman McClain. Yet with the 320,000 babies, women, and children in her home state of Michigan about to go hungry due to her party's shutdown, it seems like my Republican colleagues only care about an issue when they can point the finger in another direction, much like what's going on in this embarrassment of a hearing today.
Let's bring in Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett of Texas. Congresswoman, good morning. I'm very grateful to have you.
Good morning. It's good to see you, Casey.
So as you just heard there, President Biden linked together these threats posed by Hamas and Putin. He wants billions of dollars for both of these things. Do you agree that they are tied together?
Oh, absolutely. You know, the unfortunate thing is most Americans do not vote for their leaders based upon their foreign policy chops. But the reality is that everything's kind of coming to a head, and most of the American people do not fully understand how much we do behind the scenes when it comes to financial aid in general to foreign countries. And the fact that the president was able to tie together the border, tie together Israel, as well as the humanitarian aid to the Palestinians, as well as Ukraine, it's really important that we do that, as well as Taiwan. They are all interrelated. For everyone that says that we're being overrun, the best way to make sure that we're, number one, not overrun, and that we do what we say we're going to do as good allies, is to make sure that we help to stabilize these situations and help those modern day democracies that believe in defending themselves make sure that they can do that.
Do you want to see Hunter Biden testify, either in front of the cameras, behind closed doors? Would he make life easier on himself to just?
To be perfectly honest, I don't really care. I'm going to be honest, because this is supposed to be about impeaching the president. But when you have idiots, and I am intentionally calling her an idiot, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wants to flash nude pictures, I wouldn't take these people seriously, right? Like, so are you wanting me behind closed doors because you want to dig into my personal sexual life? Does that have anything to do with the president of the United States and him being impeached? If we had serious people, then I probably would care, because I would say this is a serious body of people that are looking for something because they have something. But they have been investigating Hunter for years. It started under the Trump administration. If you had something, I promise you, they wouldn't have held back. And so it's a bunch of games. You know, what his lawyers think is best for him, then so be it. But to say that he's spitting in the face of Congress is just false. He has tried to present himself. He has tried to present himself under the parameters that were laid out by our chairman. And, you know, again, they just change their minds. They do what they want to do. They're just kind of blowing by the wind. So who knows?
Congresswoman.
Out of curiosity, do either one of you know the definition of insanity?
I think you're referring to doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Oh, okay. That's exactly what I was referring to. And it sounds like that is what this party is good at. But I want to talk about the theme of the day. Commissioner, you have said over and over and over the word complicated. I was not keeping a tally, but you said it a lot. So I want to work with this word a little bit. I have a list of items. I would like for you to let me know if you believe they are complicated or not. Tax returns.
Complicated.
Operating the IRS without proper investment.
Complicated.
Recruiting workers in this antagonistic environment.
Complicated.
Auditing millionaires and billionaires.
Complicated.
Okay, so it sounds like you've got a complicated job.
I do.
And it also sounds like you have to know something about math. My colleague brought that up as well. It sounds like you need to be at least somewhat decent at counting to be with the IRS. Yes?
Yes.
You'd agree? Okay.
I'd agree.
You know, it's so weird because my colleagues on the other side of the aisle wanted to call this hearing. This is not our first. It's not our second. I've actually lost count myself of how many IRS hearings we're having. And they seemingly feel like they can fix your very complicated issues. But somehow they aren't good at simple math that would get them to a speaker, you know, right. So we've been 3 weeks without one. Let me ask you another question that may be another one of these when the math ain't math in situations. There was a looming government shutdown a few weeks ago. And interestingly enough, when I do the math, approximately a little bit more than 60% of the people that sit on this committee actually voted to shut us down. Now, out of curiosity, for everyone that claims to care about their constituents, do you think it's easier or more difficult to operate as the IRS when, say, there's a shutdown?
It is very disruptive to our operations.
Very disruptive. Let me give you another number that is very concerning to me. That number is 24. 24 represents the number of days that we have before the continuing resolution that 60% of, and when I say my colleagues, I'm talking about across the aisle, not on this side. We were about at 100%. Actually, we were 100% on this committee that voted to make sure that the government did not shut down. But if in 24 days, we don't have a speaker because they can't figure out their math, and we shut down, is that going to help you answer more phone calls or less phone calls?
A lot less.
Oh, okay. All right. So it sounds like we have a lot of performative politics that is taking place Because yet another number that was mentioned, and I believe you brought this number up, was $540 billion. You also talked about appropriations, and you talked about the fact, and I want to be clear about this $540 billion. This $540 billion is a net number, correct? This is not a net zero, like it's going to cost $540 to go get it, and that's how much we're going to get. We're talking about netting $540 billion, correct?
$540 billion. I would say we're on track under current course and speed to get about 70 back, so our hope is we'll be at 470. But yeah, it's 470 billion, which is what's owed versus what's paid.
Okay, very good. How is it that the American people should believe that the majority party has the ability to solve your complex issues when, number one, they don't pay attention to history, which was defunding this organization has not helped their constituents, but hurt their constituents? And let me add to that. The last time I checked, America is growing. So you were defunding your organization as we were ending up with more people, which means that you have more work, correct?
Correct. More population, more filers, more changes to the tax code, and more complexity in how the economy operates. 2010, when our budget reduction started, we never heard of PayPal, Venmo, all these, payment platforms. The gig economy changes, and it's great, but we have to invest and be ready to be effective tax administrators as the world changes. That's why it's important to keep our funding at pace.
I agree, and as the child of an IRS worker, I absolutely want to thank you for what you do, and obviously, I always must send love to my mama. I thank her for what she does for the American people as well. I'll yield back.
Gentlewoman yields.
Mr. Tenaglia, how much on average does the military spend on Viagra each year?
I don't have that figure, man.
About 41.6 million.